Hey, good morning everybody. So I've been away the last couple days. If you're new around here, that is because I just finished up Vlogtober and I really wanted a few days off. I made a whole video explaining Vlogtober and all of that stuff. And if you're a new sub, I actually suggest you go and watch this video because it's going to really help you understand what this whole channel is about. But that's not what I want to talk about today. I've been thinking a lot about collecting the last few weeks especially. And I think that's because all of the comments I've been getting on my Friday the 13th box set video, which I will link down below if you haven't seen that, or up here, that video has gotten more organic growth for me than any other video I've done in a long time. So I've been seeing a lot of collectors commenting on that video about waiting for 4K sets. And then yesterday I saw this, a new Lord of the Rings Extended Edition 4K set was announced, and it's going to be released on December 1st of this year. Lord of the Rings is one of my favorite things. Like, just in pop culture, it's one of my favorite things. I love it so much. And I've purchased all of the extended editions. The book, DVD versions, I don't have, those are all packed up right now, otherwise I'd show them to you. I also have this, which is the Blu-ray version of the extended edition, and it comes in this cool box. I don't think the newer version that they're making of this has this flap. I think it's just this box. This flap is not on the newer version. If I recall, I paid, when this first came out, I want to say like 120 to 150, somewhere around there for these. But I did that because Lord of the Rings is fantastic. And if you've never seen the extended edition, they're a lot closer to what the books, they're still not exactly what the books are, but they're a lot closer to what the Lord of the Rings books are. This whole announcement of a 4K set got me thinking about how collecting is in sort of a weird spot at the moment. I don't know about you guys, but I have not fully committed to only buying 4K yet. And until recently, I haven't seen a whole lot of stuff that I even want in 4K. The new Shout Factory, They Live set is pretty cool. And there's a few other labels that are releasing some 4K stuff. But up until recently, all we've really gotten are standard release 4K things. And for the price you end up paying for these, when I first bought these are all relatively old, but I wanna say I paid $25 to $35 for each one of these. And these are just standard releases. So until labels like Scream Factory, Blue Underground is doing really cool stuff. I also have some issues with them just because of how they've been releasing some of their 4K transfers on Blu-ray and then wait for everybody to buy it and then do 4K releases. I have some issues there, but I understand it's a business and they're trying to do the best they can with what they have or whatever. So I get it. But I have spent the better part of, is it about 10 years, just buying and collecting awesome Blu-ray versions of things. I was heavy into DVD collecting for a long time, but when Blu-ray really started to take off, I was not hesitant at all to move into Blu-ray because of how much better stuff looked. I've been collecting 4K stuff for about 2 years now, and I still don't have more than around 40 4K movies, and that's mostly because of how expensive they are. And I can't justify standard release things on 4K for 30, 35, sometimes higher than that. For me, until recently, I don't feel like Blu-ray has enough downsides for me to fully jump ship over to 4K. And not to mention, up until recently, labels like Scream Factory, is it Shout Factory maybe? But up until recently, labels like Blue Underground and Shout Factory have only recently started to put stuff out that I actually want to collect on 4K. But it makes me nervous because now what am I going to do? Start rebuying everything again in 4K that I rebought on Blu-ray that I initially had on DVD? Collecting is kind of in a weird space for me. And I'm just curious how everyone else feels about this because I don't know if I need Lord of the Rings in 4K as much as I love it. What's the price on it? The price for the 4K set is $170. So I don't know if I need a $170 Blu-ray 4K set for Lord of the Rings, especially since I have 2 versions of it already. They also announced they're going to be putting out the Hobbit Extended Edition on 4K later. I think, is it next year? Sometime early next year. And I also have this. And this is a match to the Lord of the Rings set. You know, this is not made nearly as well as the Lord of the Rings stuff is because it's the Hobbit. But this is a very good set. Do I need it in 4K? This is the question I can't answer because I don't know. I don't know if I need it in 4K. I like the way 4K looks, and on some newer things, I don't think it matters as much to me, but I love seeing older movies in 4K. That new They Live 4K, I think I'm gonna have to pick that thing up because those are the kind of movies I'm interested in seeing in 4K. The newer things like The Hobbit, especially when you're talking about high frame rates and stuff, that's gonna be weird. I am sort of on the fence about higher frame rates in filmmaking. I personally like how 24 looks. I know not everybody is on the same page as me as that, but I do think we are gonna start getting into territory where people are probably gonna start using higher frame rates in films, and that obviously goes with higher quality too. So 4K discs are the future. There's no question about it. I don't think until recently I started seeing enough releases for me to justify starting to put all of my money into 4K instead of Blu-ray. You know, this whole Friday the 13th box set is a great example of that because that is an amazing set. I got it for $140 and it's all 12 movies and it's a fantastic set. But like I said in my review for it, which I'll link there, I'm not sure it was worth paying for 1080 versions of these things. Some of those transfers are 4K. I just know they're gonna re-release that box set at some point. Even if it's 8 years from now, that box set is going to be released in 4K and I'm going to feel obligated to buy it. So I'm just curious how everyone else is feeling about this in the movie collecting world. I have in the past always thought 4K is the future and I need to start buying more 4K instead of putting all of my money into 1080 stuff. But up until recently, there haven't been enough releases for me to really start thinking about that. And I think we're on the brink right now of really cool labels starting to put out really cool older films in 4K, but that price tag on all the 4K stuff is really what makes me worried. I live in the States, and so 4Ks are about 30 bucks, depending on what you're talking about. Some of them are as low as 15, like really bad standard release generic stuff, all the way up to like 35 bucks. So depending on what you're talking about, 4K can get really, really expensive. And so I just don't know if there's enough people out there yet with 4K players and 4K TVs to really get this whole ball rolling on really awesome labels fully supporting it, which makes me wonder how sustainable 4K is in the long run, and are we just gonna move on to 8K and no one's gonna care about 4K? So should I put my money into 4K at all? I kind of feel like 8K is going to be a thing, but I could be wrong. That could not come around for another 8, 9, 10 years. So I'm just wondering how everybody else is feeling about this. This is just sort of a me spitballing video because I haven't been collecting nearly as much as I would like to because my whole living situation has been sort of in limbo, and I'm in this apartment, and when I get back into a house, I can start fully collecting again. So over the last year, I've had to only buy the stuff that I really want, and it's changed my collecting habits. So I really have been looking more into what I really want instead of buying absolutely everything I can get my hands on. I've become more of a selective buyer and a selective collector over the last year, and it has sort of changed how I look at how much I spend on one Blu-ray or one 4K disc. So what do you guys think? Is 4K about to turn the corner and we're all gonna start collecting 4K the way we've been collecting Blu-rays the last 10 years? Is 4K a complete waste of money and you're waiting for 8K to come around? Is 8K not coming around for a really long time? Tell me what you guys think here because I just don't know. Is it time to move on from Blu-ray collecting and start really collecting 4K? I know some people have been doing that for the better part of 2 years. So what do you guys think? Let me know down in the comments because I am torn here. If you like this, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. If you really liked it, hit the subscribe button as I've got a lot more content like this on the way. This channel has slowly pivoted toward almost all movie content over the last couple weeks, and I think that's super cool. I'm really into collecting. I'm really into watching movies, and so this is something I enjoy talking about. And I would like this whole thing to be a conversation, especially with people that are collecting, because the collecting world is just chock full of people that have differing opinions on this subject specifically. This is kind of a divisive subject from what I've read on message boards and stuff like that. People have really strong opinions about this. And not until recently have I even thought about like fully committing to jumping over to collect far more 4K than Blu-ray. So, you know, for a long time I was laser focused on Blu-ray, and I think we're on the brink of that changing. So let me know what you guys think down in the description, and I will see you guys next time with another video. Mike the Finder out. See ya.